We are in position to where I think we can go ahead and start a couple minutes early because we know that many of you need to get on the road. So here we've had a motion to start with number 13 and work backwards. We promise you we're going to move through this. We've asked our reporter group to come up here so that they can go one after the other. What we would like to do is hear about the top couple of priorities. We know that you discussed a tremendous amount of information, a lot of insights into opportunities that exist, but if each of our presenters doesn't mind maybe the top couple of priorities that you discussed, and then we will just move down the list here. I believe that we're still awaiting Zone 2 to come into the room, so when they arrive, we'll go ahead and get back to them. But right now, let's just go ahead. Who is Zone 1, Northwest Georgia? Come on down. You're the next contestant.
You didn't like starting with 13? You started with 13? All right, good afternoon. I have to say that we actually had a wonderful experience with collaboration and communication with some other institutions in our region, and it became very apparent from the start that we have the common goal not only to invest in our students and their education, but to also find better ways to collaborate and communicate ideas to make sure that all of our students in our region are reaching their goal. So what we started out with is that we definitely have the goal to not only serve our traditional students, but to also serve those traditionally underserved. We have a large number of students who live in poverty that are first-generation college students. That is a priority for us. And along with that, we want to address those issues regarding first-year experience, adult learning, and Veterans Affairs. So as we looked at our priorities, we came up with really four, but we decided to just stick with three. Our first one is going to be degree pathways that will include outreach to at-risk students, employment literacy and employment outcomes, multi-delivery options, partnerships and conversations regarding jobs and employment needs, financial literacy, and financial aid literacy. Our second is going to be career and college post-secondary counseling and education. We really think we need to help students define their college career pathway as they're getting started so they're not wasting time. Partnerships, we're going to start establishing our partnerships not only at the campus level, but also regionally with our business partners and our K-12 partners. We're going to begin that with some regional asset mapping. What are our government, educational, business, partnerships that we have that are available between our three institutions that we can better leverage to ensure that our students are beginning and completing their college education. All right.
Thank you. Excellent job, and well inside of the little clock that's running down here, too. Very good job. You win the prize already. We have Zone 3A. We're going to skip over Zone 2. I don't think that they were back in the room yet. Oh, we're here? All right, let's go back to Zone 2. We'll call an audible here. Here we go, Georgia Mountains.
I think you'll see this is the best zone. Yeah. No. Dan Smith is my favorite friend. All right. All right, the summit of the Georgia Mountains. We're going to climb that summit together. We ended up with three priorities and for the area that we thought really targeted what was needed most for the economic development in the region. And then we had action steps and priorities that were associated with all three of those priorities. So first thing I'd like to do is tell you about the priorities. Priority one is focus on partnerships in support of and targeting health care industries. Priority two is focus on partnerships in support of and targeting manufacturing, because we're seeing a resurgence of that. And then focus on partnerships in support of and targeting service industry, because there's this brand new fiber optic big band input coming into the area, and we think service industry is really going to take off with that. Our action steps, first thing we're doing is we got all our contact information. We're going to put it on a single listserv called the Summit of the Mountains of Georgia, or Georgia Mountains. I haven't found those yet, but they tell me they're there. Can't ski on any of them. Convene the first meeting of this new group on March 27th at the Gainesville campus of the University of North Georgia. The first steps there will be to compare all of our Complete College Georgia plans, see how we can support each other, and start bringing in collaboratives from the community. And then our main emphasis there will be to listen. We actually have, am I out of time? We're going to listen.
Wow. I did not know that our wrap it up system was so effective. No, great job, Zone 2. Excellent job. We're excited, especially about the follow-up conversation. Zone 3A, South Metro Atlanta.
Okay, now that I know what that sounds like, we consisted of Atlanta Technical College, Atlanta Metropolitan State College, Southern Crescent Technical College, and Clayton State University. And yesterday we had our K-12 and business partners with us. We were very excited to be in the same room together, first time we've ever been together at a conference, and we really want to work together to support each other so that we can better support our students. And we had two top priorities: provide unified, statewide, comprehensive, intentional marketing plan. Instead of trying to basically take the different students that other schools might want, we want to work together. And as Rushton Johnson from Atlanta Technical College said, we're very much like the Gulf Coast after the BP oil spill. You know, come to Florida, we'll come to Alabama, come to Mississippi, realizing that we all have something very special and unique to offer, yet we also have some overlap. So we really want to help our students find the best fit for themselves at that point in their career. And we also want to look at some current workforce development guidelines and determine some additional data needs. Our second one is to improve articulation, communication between all the educational agencies, K-12, technical colleges, university system schools. We really want to support more K-12 partnerships by going into the schools, identify early some at-risk students, find resources for more academic financial support, look at pedagogical delivery models, and vertically align expectations from K-12 curriculum through higher education, and also expand some of our dual enrollment programs. We hope to get together again. We don't know when or how that's going to happen or who's going to structure that for us, but we also decided to identify 1 or 2 best practices at each institution so we can come back together even on our own within the next 3 to 6 months to help one another, so we're all not trying to reinvent a new program.
Zone 3B, Central Atlanta.
Zone 3B, you're here to support me, right? Are you in the house? All right, thank you. By the time whoever goes at the end, they'll just be able to say ditto, right? Because you've already covered a couple of the things that are on our list, so I'll be extremely concise. We spoke about better serving the financially needy. Maybe this is a slightly different wrinkle. Through developing some kind of financial literacy module that we would deliver through MOOC technology so that parents of youngsters could learn about how to be ready for the financial puzzle that lies ahead. You just heard about improving the K-12 collaboration. That's one of our goals as well, through such things as dual enrollment and a common data system. I've collected a few people's business cards so that for example, Georgia Tech has a distance calculus program for high school students that only has capacity for 500 students. So I'll be referring my overflow to partners who will serve them in other ways. Similarly, we can't always meet the expectations of people looking for dual enrollment opportunities on our campus, and it's through our network, this grouping, that will share the identities and contact information for people seeking dual enrollment opportunities. And then our last is to improve the quality of student advising, and that particularly depends upon our ability to develop roadmaps for each one of our majors or programs of study so that students can utilize that wherever location they're at to figure out how they're going to navigate their way to their degree at whatever institution they're headed towards. Thank you.
3C, North Metro Atlanta.
You know, if you're the best region, you really don't have to say it. It's quite evident. So, we had a couple of things. You know, our region, the institutions are very complementary in nature. We have a good mix of technical college system schools, USG schools, and strong systems. In fact, we had great input from our business partners through our K through 12 partners. Primary takeaways, in terms of not just that complementary nature, but we're willing to work together to accomplish some things. Our immediate priorities were, one, to create some short-term wins. We're very excited about this regional approach and realize that a state, taking it on as a state can be very daunting, but we can identify common barriers for our region. We can identify some regional goals and use this regional approach to make some things happen for our area. We're very excited about that. We want to create a partnership, too, as others have touched on. We want to identify some pathways, strengthen some pathways, but also help K through 12 improve their completion rate, too, and realize that's going to help in the long run. We do want to create a strategic plan for the region, and our next step is one of our K through 12 superintendents, along with the Cobb Chamber president, they're going to head up and work with an existing effort that we have, the Cobb Education Consortium. That CEC tends to be project-based. It's a leadership academy. We're going to tie into the strengths they have and what they do best, and rather going from a project-based to working on change that's systemic in nature, something that is long-term, things that will last. And that was our main concern, and we all had that common goal, making change that will last. So that's what we have. Thank you.
4, Three Rivers Regional Commission.
Zone 4 might not be the best, but we at least decided we're better than Norway. We first had the opportunity to start talking about a number of things that we do really well in Zone 4. We've got a number of K-12 partnerships that are happening and going forward. We collectively decided that we serve very well the students who would graduate anywhere. And I say that tongue-in-cheek because the other side we may not serve as well. We have a number of dual credit opportunities, and those partnerships are working, and we have great relationships throughout Zone 4 with our business partners. We looked at specific things we could do to improve what we're doing and came to one conclusion. The best thing we could do to help groups of students is to help them at any age, at any time, find and identify and pursue their best access point. For many students, they go to USG institution when really they should be entering a technical college, or the opposite might happen. Finding and identify students in early age and helping them find their access point and pursuing this through adult learning programs and dual enrollment and other options. We then talked about what would keep us from pursuing this, and we came to the quick realization that we need to be keenly aware that there are structural challenges to us carrying this out. As soon as we get back to our campuses, we'll have our own priorities, which clearly become pretty high in this survival mode that we're often in. We need to realize that, and we talked about this, we're all in the same fight together, and that's against ignorance and poverty. And we've got to compete less and cooperate more. But if we had, in addition to the policy work that's going on in the USG system, if we could look at policy and organization and financing holistically in a P20 mode that integrates the whole system, the incentives would be there for us to do more together. That's where we are in Zone 4. Thanks.
A combo zone, 5/3D, Northeast Georgia /East Metro.
So, Zone 5/3D consisted of UGA, Georgia Gwinnett, Gwinnett Tech, and Athens Tech. And we bounced around a lot of ideas, dozens, but I think what it came down to was a recognition of both our institutions and our population being very diverse. We have technical colleges, the university system of Georgia, as well as just such a diverse population in the metro area that we decided what could best serve our students is communication between ourselves. In particular, we decided that data communication is essential in the sense that each of our institutions analyzes the needs of our population, of our region, independently, and we don't speak with one another. And so we decided that communication, especially in the IR sense, was most important. Also, sort of side notes, we talked about public transportation, especially since we're all on the 316 corridor. Public transit, political maybe pressure into public transit and getting that going would be important. And speaking, lastly, with the Department of Education on dual enrollment and having courses from dual enrollment be applicable both to the high schools and to the colleges. We're seeing a disconnect with these courses either applying to one or the other, but not really being applicable to both. So basically, it was all about communication. Yep.
Zone 7, Central Savannah River area.
Our institutions comprise of Oconee Fall Line, Augusta Technical College, and the recent Georgia Regents University. We had many discussions regarding our priorities, and we also have some next steps that I would like to share with you, if time permitting. But the three that we consistently worked on and discussed were the opportunities to report data consistently. We need to get some type of common data set with our local boards of education and our local chambers of commerce so that we can report, especially high school graduation data, the same. And it may take some type of directive from the office of the governor to do that. We discussed our 2+2 programs in the higher education institutions in our region, and we talked about the importance of articulation and kind of reinforce what Dr. Tinto mentioned this morning about having students take specifically what they need. And then the last thing I would like to share regarding what we felt was important was marketing. Marketing in our region of not only our higher education institutions, but our secondary institutions. The proprietary schools seem to do that very, very well in our region, and we want to do some collaborative work so that we can co-advertise some of the services. We want to get back and market some of the holistic and what we call the experiential learning opportunities that students need to know about internships and co-ops. And we think we need to market that very well, especially when we're in a health area. Some of our next steps include start sharing performance report and data with each other. We're going to look at some local, some of our local discussions with our colleges, universities, and our regions to poll resources with our K through 12 partners. And okay. Thank you.
At least it sounds funny. We've got Zone 8, River Valley Regional Commission.
Zone 8, the River Valley Zone, representing Columbus Technical College, South Georgia Technical College, Columbus State University, and Georgia Southwestern State University. We are coming at you high above the Athens campus in Room Z at the... we had several priorities and really had some spirited discussion. We had some of our P12 partners there too and had some really good discussion. Basically, our priorities came like a lot of different zones on the idea of collaborating and pooling resources, looking for unique synergies that exist. Our second priority was really to advocate at the state level for those resources that we think it will take to engage our students and enable them to complete college. Like some of you, we serve a large number of students from areas of high poverty, and that creates some funding issues if completion is the only part of the funding formula. We hope that actually different demographics will figure into that formula too. And then finally, we talked a lot about using data And we talked a lot about collaborating with our P12 partners. My friend Brian Adler from Georgia Southwestern likes to say that you learn to read until you're in third grade, and then afterwards you read to learn. And if we can't do something about that, we will not ultimately solve the completion issue in Georgia. Thank you.
Yes. Now back to 6/9, Middle Georgia, Heart of Georgia.
I'm a mathematics professor, so I was feeling pretty unconfident when I found out that 6 came after 7. But I feel better now. So we're a combined zone, 6 and 9. That's why I feel better. And as you can see, is this? That's only 6. So actually, I'm going to point to the map to make this point, but I can't do that, of how broad of a region that we contain. And that was part of the discussion that we had with our folks both days, is that we face certain challenges in terms of the size of the zones together and the diversity of the institutions and the missions of those represented. But many, many fruitful discussions around the ways that we can collaborate. And I would say that that's probably the key word, the key takeaway from our discussions in zones 6 and 9, was that we're thinking about ways that we can collaborate with meaningful partnerships. So again, we're almost to the point where I could say ditto from a lot of the ideas that we've heard from our colleagues in other zones here, where we talked about the importance of thinking strategically and getting the folks from higher education together at the same table with K through 12 and with our business partners. Of course, we had some opportunity to do that a bit yesterday, but we talked about the real pressing need to get that same type of interaction happening at our home campuses and in our home communities, so that we're involving more of our, again, K-12 partners and business and community leaders. We had a number of ideas. I guess I don't have time to mention everything. One of the priorities was focusing on access for students. We had a number of suggestions about getting higher education and representatives from higher education institutions out into the community. Get ourselves into the places where our students, potential students, are. And so, just to finish that point, we even had a thought on a bookmobile. Here comes the... Again, collaboration, communication. Thank you.
In some way, there's fairness to having a few extra seconds. We jumped the gun on that. We didn't even get your map right, so, extra time. Zone 10, Southwest Georgia.
Okay, so now you all know my name. Southwest Georgia consists of Albany State University, Darton State College, Bainbridge State College, Southwest Georgia Technical School, Moultrie Technical, and Albany Technical. And we actually came to 4 key points. We started with 5 and narrowed it down to 4, one of which was best practices. We need to do a better job sharing and learning from each other, because each of the schools definitely has their strengths. The other was that we did actually have partners in the room from both industry and K through 12, and we talked about reaching down better into those areas, but we also need to think cooperatively instead of competitively in general as a group, and I think everybody in there would have agreed that this was definitely a good opportunity for our region. Real-world application is also critical. That was one of the points made by the people with industry, and the importance of their employability skills. The 2 priorities that came from the group was to develop a local and regional stakeholder group. Some of the schools have already developed their local stakeholder groups, but we'd really like to do a regional stakeholder group so that we can get back together very soon, and we've actually already talked about trying to get back together by the end of March. But the other priority was, or the other action item was, to do a review of each other's Complete College Georgia plans prior to getting together, because we all felt like there would be some serious overlap in a lot of ways in each of those plans. So to know where the overlap stands before we get back together as regions would certainly help. And again, ditto. I think Zone 4 made a lot of points that really are echoed in our area very eloquently. So thank you for doing that before I got up here. And that's it.
Zone 11, Southern Georgia.
Good afternoon. I'm Bill McKinney, president of Valdosta State. Zone 11 consists of Okefenokee Tech, Wiregrass Georgia Tech, ABAC, South Georgia State College, and obviously VSU. As you saw in the demographics earlier, we face issues of poverty and educational attainment in South Georgia, and all of the institutions in our working group felt very strongly about that responsibility that we are, in fact, stewards of place, and that really informed our 3 talking points as we move forward as a region. First and foremost is to enhance regional and statewide partnerships, and underneath that umbrella, you really find so much of what we feel is very important to be involved in, and that is workforce development, economic development, educational attainment, and serving as cultural resources for our region. Secondly, it's very, very important for this group of institutions, we believe as stewards of place in South Georgia, to make sure that we continue in our commitment to serve the underserved. The underserved populations in our region are profound, and we have a responsibility to move forward with that. And finally, as part of Complete College Georgia, retention, 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 and using data in more creative ways, working together in more creative and profound ways. And toward that end, we will be hosting, we being VSU, will be hosting our regional partners in a regional educational leadership summit at some point after graduation when things settle down a little bit for us. It'll probably be at some point in the month of June or July. We've already committed to our friends in the USG that we'll keep them in the loop in terms of the results of that summit meeting, with the hopes that that will be a first step toward moving forward in a very positive way to better serve the people of South Georgia. Thanks.
And last but certainly not least, Zone 12, Coastal Region.
Good afternoon. I'm Lorette Hoover, and Zone 12 includes Ogeechee Technical College, Savannah Technical College, Armstrong Atlantic State University, College of Coastal Georgia, Georgia Southern University, Savannah State University, and Altamaha kind of snuck in there. So everyone has had so many wonderful and dynamic priorities. I really am tempted to say ditto, except this afternoon I was very proud of our group. It wasn't just a talk of establishing a consortium. We are going to do it. We really want to roll up our sleeves and do the difficult work of identifying, retaining, and graduating students, understanding that many of the students flit between our different institutions back and forth, and the need to capture those students and help them get them on the direct path towards graduation. So 3 of the institutions have already gotten together and conducted data mining, so they're going to bring in the rest of the group to make sure that we data mine together on the coast. We want to first nab the adults that are low-hanging fruit. They have some college, but they're not graduates. We want to establish our marketing efforts in a more similar way, develop additional pathways. And what I love most about the group is we decided that if we can be proud of each other's logos, including wearing somebody else's. So thank you, Dr. Barnett. I appreciate it. I've been pinned. I think that means we're dating. But honestly, and we can be as proud of each other's institutions as if you are your own. We're finally going to get to the point to help the students understand we're proud of you graduating. Go graduate, whichever institution works. And I'm real proud of the efforts. We're going to meet at Savannah Technical College because we decided they had the best food. You know, got to get started. Thank you.
Let's give all of our presenters a round of applause. Great job, guys. Well, let me say just very quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Josephine for a couple of closing comments. I'm really glad that we finished with this because some of you know that I'm fond of saying that higher education is not at 270 Washington Street, that's for sure, in the Regent's office. It's out on the campuses and in the communities. And the other thing I know is that the challenges that we're talking about are too abstract and impersonal at the state level. They're overwhelming at a single institutional level, about the only way we've got a fighting chance is looking at how we can mobilize our assets with regional and community partners. The things that you guys outlined here, that does the old heart well. I really appreciate the spirit and cooperation with which you had your conversations today, and really and truly appreciate all of you giving up your time. I know it's precious. Your inboxes have continued to fill up while you've been here these last 2 days, but we're part of a very important and long-term conversation in this state, and I really appreciate the effort with which you're going about the task. Thank you. Josephine?
I'd certainly like to echo Houston's thanks for your joining us at this convening, and all of those C words that came out: collaboration, working together cooperatively, not competing with one another, bringing to bear the best resources that all of our institutions have in terms of trying to help the students of Georgia on their road to completion. We know that this is not an overnight process. As we've said, this is a dynamic, ever-evolving kind of situation. And even when we get to 2020, we know that we will have new challenges to face. But with the talents and resources and the great thinking that all of you present and all of those who are back home at our colleges and universities, I know that it will be a success for us. So we want to thank you again, encourage you to have safe travels back home, and we'll see you again soon. Oh, Vincent would like to say something.
I'll let you go. It'll be less than a minute. You can time me. You know, what we're dealing with is our future. The success of your students, especially those underserved and low income, they're our future. If you don't succeed, we as a nation don't succeed. So when things get hard, and they will, remember what the point of this all. It's our future at stake. Thank you, folks.
I'm sorry, I had to be last. Thank you all very much. This event never goes on without tremendous teamwork. I'd like to take just a moment and have all of the technical college staff and USG staff that have supported this event to stand up. Thank you all very much. It's been a tremendous team effort.